Hey everyone, my name is Sophie from Sophisticated Organization. Welcome back to another Sophisticated Saturday where together we work through my to-do list and get things done around the house. Now today, if I'm being completely honest with you, I wasn't really feeling getting stuff done. I wasn't really feeling filming, but decided to get as much done as I could anyway. Try to get the house in order, at least just a little bit. So the first thing I was doing just to make myself feel a little bit better about my space was cleaning my kitchen. Part of my plan was to do a little bit of meal prepping and cooking in advance today for a recipe later this week. And I knew I was going to dirty the kitchen doing that. It wasn't a huge undertaking. You'll see in a bit I'm going to be making some homemade pretzels, which is also something I really enjoy, cooking and baking. So thought that might actually give me some more energy. But I still felt like I wanted to clean the kitchen fully before I started cooking. Now, I typically like to do all of my cooking and then clean the kitchen, quote unquote, close the kitchen for the day and just be done with it and have it all cleaned at once rather than working twice to clean it. But I couldn't even focus in the kitchen with how big of a mess it was. My sink was so dirty, it was grossing me out. So I am going to clean it out with my sink scrub in a bit. I am getting the dishwasher all loaded up, just getting the countertops nice and clean. And because I am going to be making pretzels, I'm going to be rolling out dough on the countertops. So I would want to wipe down the surface anyway. But all of this to say that sometimes you have to do like this base layer of pickup or cleanup in your house before you can even let the rest of the productivity begin. I don't know about you, but I work from home, whether you work from home or go to an office or have any other thing in your life where you're trying to be productive and get stuff done. I just can't do it in a cluttered space. If I sit down for my workday and my office is a mess, I'm so distracted. I can't just sit there and focus on my computer and start answering emails because I'm constantly looking at the mess around me. So I benefit a lot from just taking 5, maybe 10 minutes if things are really bad to pick it up first and then sit down and focus at the task at hand. And I do want to mention, sorry if it seems like the video is kind of skipping a bit. I had my camera on some weird setting apparently the entire time I was filming. So I tried to fix it in editing, but it looks like my computer just couldn't process it, or I'm not really sure what happened. But please know that this is just a mistake I made for one video and it won't happen again. Once I got the main area of the kitchen cleaned, then I moved to the kitchen table where Owen had had his breakfast and left a nice big mess for me there. So I just wiped it down really quickly. Didn't worry about it too much because he was going to be up and having lunch not too long from now. And once I finished that, I went upstairs to move the dark laundry that I had put in the washing machine before I started filming earlier this morning into the dryer, and then I'm going to let it dry and head back downstairs and get to working on those pretzels. One more quick tidy though before I start with the pretzels. The other thing that I needed to do to make my space feel a little bit cleaner, because especially I can see it from the kitchen, which would be very distracting, is this living room where the toys are everywhere. My mother-in-law actually said something to me a couple weeks ago. She said something along the lines of like, Sophie, don't feel like you need to clean the living room like twice a day or 3 times a day with Owen's toys. You're just gonna kill yourself over it. Just let it sit there sometimes. It doesn't always need to be put away. And I don't mean to put out the impression that it's always put away. I do strive to pick up the toys honestly at least once a day. I like to have it in the morning cleaned up when he goes to school, and I like to have it cleaned before he goes to bed, so that would be twice a day. But let me tell you, these toys have been sitting here for like a full week. Things have not moved. They have never been fully put away in the past week. So I am by no means perfect, and sometimes I just need to get everything put away and have a clean space, even if it's just for a moment. With this recipe, you can either mix by hand or you can use a stand mixer. I don't know why the heck you'd mix by hand. If you have a stand mixer with a dough hook, it's just so much easier to not have to knead it yourself. And I didn't have to get the countertops like covered in flour. Of course, in a little bit, I'll have to roll out the dough, but it's not quite as messy as the whole kneading process on top of the countertop would be. So if you watched my most recent video where I did a monthly recap, I talked about how I was going to do a little bit of a challenge this month, a grocery challenge, where I am trying to use up the food that I have in my fridge, my freezer, and my pantry very intentionally to try and, number one, reduce my grocery bill, but also, honestly, I just want to work through the food that I have so it doesn't go bad in my pantry, and I want to get rid of those half-used items that I bought for specific recipes and never used again. I want to either make that same recipe again if I enjoyed it and use that product up, or find another recipe and use it up a different way. So I am not as much focusing on trying to reduce my spending, although I'm hoping that's just like an added bonus of doing this. And one of the things that I noticed is I had a few like freezer meals in our freezer down in the basement. And one thing I had was some frozen beer cheese soup, which I love. But beer cheese soup alone is not really a meal, and not that this makes it a meal, but it definitely fills it up a little bit more. And I was looking for what I could make with beer cheese soup to make it a little more wholesome, and I decided to make some pretzels. So that's what we're doing today. I am doubling this batch of pretzels. I will link the recipe to the pretzels that I am making. They're also very freezer friendly, so if I don't eat all of them, which I'm sure we will, then I could always freeze them. Although right now I'm not trying to build up a freezer stash. I'm trying to work through everything, so hopefully we don't have leftovers, which again, I don't think we will. And this recipe I also liked because it was quick and easy in terms of making a homemade pretzel. The dough only had to rest for 10 minutes after you finish mixing it. And if you've made bread before, oftentimes it needs to rest for like an hour or more than that. So having a 10-minute resting period was really nice because, again, I wasn't really feeling it today. I was hoping just to get my tasks done and be able to take a bath at the end of this and relax for the rest of the day. Now that the dough is done, I am just cleaning up the countertop a tiny bit because there was a little bit of flour that spilt over, and cleaning off the side of the mixer there, putting a kitchen towel over the mixer so it can rest. And then I'm going to start to get the water filled up, get that going, and preheat the oven because there's a 2-step process to making these pretzels. First, you have to boil them in water and baking soda, and then you need to finish them off in the oven with a little bit of salt on top. A big pot of water takes a really long time to start boiling, and the oven needed to preheat. So since I had those 10 minutes, I ran upstairs and decided to fold the laundry because it did finish up while I was getting the pretzels done. And what I always do when I do the laundry here is bring it into our bedroom. When Jim does it, he always brings it into the guest room and does it there. But I kind of like the incentive of having it on our bed. I know sometimes, I'm sure many of you have gone through this too, like you have clothing on your bed, clean clothing that you've washed, and you have the best of intentions to fold it. I don't want to be that person that has to just like push it to the floor at the end of the night so you can get into bed. So it is a bit of an incentive for me to get it folded and put away before bedtime, even if it's not fully put away in the dresser, but maybe just like folded. Whereas I feel like if we do the laundry on the guest room bed, it's more likely to sit there just a little bit longer because it's out of sight, out of mind. And I fold my laundry and lay Jim's laundry out just flat on his side of the bed. I throw like his boxers and his socks and stuff just kind of in a pile, but other things like his nice shirts or pants, I try to lay them flat so they don't get wrinkled by being in a ball in the middle of the bed. The rest of it he can handle from there. He has his own unique methods of folding, and we like to split things up so that we're both not overwhelmed by all of the chores and stuff. So he does his and I do mine. With that, the dough is done rising. I am going to get it into 1/3 cup pieces, 1/3 cup size balls, I guess. And that's about how much you need to make these pretzels. I kind of think it really doesn't matter. You might just want to keep an eye on it when you put it in the oven if you make them bigger or smaller. But you just basically roll out a nice thin log and then make a little twist, fold it down, and there is your pretzel shape. In terms of making this recipe, the thing that takes the longest is rolling out the pretzels. Now, I have made different pretzels in the past, and something that you can always do is make like pretzel balls, or you can make like a pretzel snake. You don't have to make it in this exact shape if it's like too time consuming for you and it's just taking up a lot of time. Just again, keep an eye on it when you put it in the oven, and you can update the cooking time based on the size and shape of your pretzel. So once that water's boiling, you're going to drop your pretzels into the boiling water for 20 to 30 seconds, then bring them out with a slotted spoon, sprinkle some coarse salt on it, and the oven should be at 400, and you're going to want to bake for about 12 minutes, and that's it. It's like actually pretty simple to make homemade pretzels. And what you're seeing right now is actually the second batch, so I'm going to pull out the first batch of pretzels, you'll see what they look like, and put this second batch in. So I mentioned I didn't have a lot of motivation today. I'm going to fill up a bathtub so I can hop in a bath and just relax. And then I'm going to chill out for the rest of the day. I'm not planning on doing anything super productive the rest of the day because I have that soup already pre-made that I can just heat it up, and then we have our pretzels. So that will be done with cooking. I have most of the house cleaned up and picked up. It's just going to be a relaxing evening. But one more multitasking thing, while the bath fills up with water, I am going to quickly wash my makeup brushes. That's one thing that I can do. I can keep an eye on the bathtub as it fills up, and I have not done this in a while. And I feel like I'm breaking out just a little bit, and that's probably because I haven't washed my makeup brushes. Who knows, maybe it's like the pregnancy hormones and stuff, but I figured might as well do something while this bath fills up, one last push of productivity, and then I can just relax. So that is all for today's video. Thank you so much for joining me for another Sophisticated Saturday. Hope you have a wonderful weekend, and until next time, I will see you all later.